All right. Hello, friends. So I'm super excited about today because I am actually interviewing one of my past clients. So we are here with my past client from earlier, January or February? This is Miss Samantha, but I will let her introduce herself. Please let everybody know, like, who are you? What do you do? And what is your business?
Hi. Yeah, it was like, I think January or February, which feels like so long ago now. So like you said, my name is Samantha. I am the owner and lead artist of Hello Darling Glam in Iowa. We are an on-location beauty agency that specializes specifically in events, but more so weddings.
Yes, awesome, awesome. So, can you tell everybody a little bit about how you actually got into having your own business? Because I remember you moved from a very fun location to a very non busy location, or just a very different scenery. I'll say that, from where you were to Iowa. So can you tell us a little bit about your story of, starting up your business and what it was like basically transitioning from a completely new state?
Yeah, so I've done hair and makeup. I've been a licensed cosmetologist for like 13 or so years. And I started in Las Vegas and I worked for a salon doing cuts and colors that they also dabbled in weddings when it was like 10, 10, 10, 11, 11, 11, like all those really fun dates. And so I was kind of thrown into it. And that's where I learned to do makeup and learned to do everything. And I liked it, but I didn't like that environment. And so then I moved on to an agency where that's all we did was go on location and do weddings and events in Las Vegas. And as you can imagine, it's nonstop, round the clock, Monday through Sunday. It doesn't sleep. And then I'm from Iowa originally. And after having my son, my husband and I kind of just decided like it was time. We wanted to move somewhere. And so we packed up in 2018, fall of 2018, and we moved back to Des Moines. And I had no intentions of doing hair and makeup. I was just going to be a stay-at-home mom and hang out and live the Midwest life. But when I had my son's first birthday, we did photos, like a smash cake and whatever. And the photographer had lurked my Facebook page and found that I did hair and makeup. And she was like a senior, like milestone family photographer. And so she wanted an like in-house hair and makeup artist. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And from there, I was like, well, if I'm going to stock my kit for this, I might as well stock my kit for like, and do something and make it worth it. And I started picking up weddings and I told my husband, I'm going to build a website and I'm going to do this because I feel like Iowa could benefit from it. And I, I told him, I'm going to do 2 weddings a month, just so that way I can get out of the house. I'm using my kit. It'll be fun. And I'm not back to being, taken away every weekend.
Mhm.
Then Miss Rona happened and I felt bad because everybody was trying to get in and everybody was scrambling and there wasn't a lot of resources for people. And so I just took it all on. By the end of 2020, I was pretty much 50 to 60% booked for 2021 and it was just myself. And I don't know if you've ever been or seen a Midwest wedding, but it's everybody and their aunts and uncles and grandmas that is in the wedding party. And it's definitely not something I could handle on my own. So I started realizing like, well, maybe I could turn this into an agency and, kind of modeled after what the company that I loved working for in Las Vegas and see how it goes. Here we are.
Yes, I love that. And I just love how, like our stories are a little bit similar. Like I never really thought about starting a team. It just kind of happened and it made sense for the direction that I was going into. So I absolutely love that. And you are freaking killing it right now. So I would love to know. So when you were kind of going through that transition, you were like, okay, I know that I definitely need to start a team. This is definitely more than what I can handle. And I need some other people to help me out. So where were you at in your business? What were your biggest challenges that you were going through in business that made you decide to join my program?
So I was just at a point where I knew I wanted to offer an elevated experience to my guests. I feel like no matter what your budget is, it it's a luxury service regardless. Weddings aren't something they're not budget friendly really for anybody. I mean, it's an added expense, and
Yeah.
it's a once in a lifetime milestone. And so I really wanted to make sure that my clients were getting their value. Like it was something that they were gonna, not take for granted, not feel like they were taken for granted. I know it's very common in this industry of weddings for people to feel like, oh, you slap wedding on it and you can charge extra. And I didn't want to be just that.
Mhm.
There's it in Iowa, there are people who specialize in weddings, but a lot of it is just basically people who, work at salons and just happen to also enjoy doing updos, or they're really good at it, or makeup. And I wanted to show people that there's a difference in that versus somebody who, like myself, where this is all I do. Could I do other things? Could we do other things? Yeah, but really our main focus is just weddings and offering that elevated experience. So knowing that that was my end goal and what I wanted to do, I knew I needed more than what I was doing. I was struggling to keep things organized, and I was just having a really hard time with like, okay, I sent them a contract, but now I sent them, an invoice through Square, but now it doesn't show in their contract. And it was just so many moving parts. I needed a better system.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't even know, I feel like it was just Instagram algorithm that you popped up. I think I started following somebody, I can never remember her name, but it's that makeup mentor podcast, but now she's changed her name
Yes.
to something else. You were
Mhm.
on there, I think. I started following you from there. But I think all of that had kind of just shown up. Like I think Instagram really just like kind of put you guys in my feed.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I started watching some of your lives and some of your things, and everything you were saying was hitting. I remember sitting on the couch talking to my husband and being like, dude, everything she's saying is exactly what I feel like I need or where I'm struggling. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and it's not just like, I really felt like you were talking to me.
Mhm.
um Even though it was just in your regular story and your regular feed and everything. And so then I reached out, and that's where I was.
Yes, awesome. Well, I remember when we first connected and you basically kind of said the same thing. You were like, "Hey, I feel like you're talking to me. Like you have the business model that I'm currently working towards." And that kind of goes into my next question. So, what was the biggest thing about me or the way that I was showing up or the way that I was talking about, my own experiences that made you like decide, like I need to be in her program? Like, was there like a pivotal moment or like my personality or anything like that?
I think, yeah, I think once, because I reached out, and once we had that initial kind of call where I had all these questions and they were totally like the wrong questions to have. I was jumping the gun for sure. Um and you were still just so like, okay, yeah, I can help you with that. However, like this is what this is, and just really you weren't salesy or pushy. um and it just felt very genuine. And like you had said, like you and I kind of come from a similar place in our careers, where it's not necessarily what we kind of ever thought we would see ourselves doing, but here we are.
Mhm.
And I really liked that, because I thought like, okay, if you came from that same place and you mapped this out and it worked for you, like what can I do? How can I make that work for me? And that was the thing too, is that I felt like you never said you have to do it this way. You just said, this is what has been proven to work for me, or other people that I've worked with have found results in this. And so it was very just genuine. Like you took the time to see where I was and what best techniques that that would help me, and not like, you have to do it this way, you have to do here, you have to do this. Because I feel like, I mean, I don't know, I guess kind of what client you get, but for me, I feel like I've done this for so long, but I was on the opposite side of it. I'm not somebody new who had just started doing hair and makeup and just starting in my career. I've done this for 13 years, and I knew I had the experience. I just didn't know how to like convey that to clients and put that into place, especially with the brand itself being so new. And yeah, I feel like you definitely took that into consideration and kind of customized your plan to fit what I needed.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I always love to tell people, because sometimes when you work with the different business coaches, they literally teach you how to make their business. It's like a duplicate version of them, but everybody's business is going to be customizable to their own lifestyle. Are you a mama? Do you have other responsibilities? Do you just want to do this seasonally or full time? So I absolutely love that you mentioned that, because that's a huge thing that I love to tell people. Like, nobody's business is supposed to look like everybody else's. So I absolutely love that. So for you, since you talked about all of the things that you were going through prior, and kind of like what some of the things that I helped you map out. So where's your business at right now? And what did the process look like to get to where you are now?
I just want to say one more thing too before we move on, is that I just realized, you never, if there was ever something that like I wanted, like whatever my problem was, like, so for me personally, still to this day, I am not a morning person. Do I know that I should be waking up before my son and answering emails before he's awake, and that way when he does wake up, I can make him breakfast and do things and be less stressed out? Absolutely. Am I going to do it? No. And you never made me feel bad about that. You were always just so very, or you are just so very encouraging. And that was also very helpful and motivational for me, because I knew, as much as I didn't want to like let you down, I was like, okay, I'm doing this for me, but like Jasmine's got to be proud of me. I knew that I was never going to get like reprimanded because I did something different, or I didn't like completely adhere to every step.
Yeah.
Yeah. But moving forward, where we're at now, so it's myself and 7 others. Yeah, my goal for the end of the year, which today's December 1st, like we're barely into it. My goal for the end of the year, I think, was to have like 4 to 6, I think. I'd have to go back in my notes and look, but yeah, I think it was like 4 to 6. So I have 7, and then myself makes 8. We are actually getting ready to revamp my website. I've hired a third party like brand person, because I built my website myself. That was a big thing. And she's just going to update everything and make it look more cohesive and professional, and update the like about us kind of section. And we are getting ready to do company photos and headshots, so that way we just look more cohesive. I'm actually in the works of I'm going to add back in some other services outside of weddings. We're going to start offering more for like photographers and boudoir and engagement sessions, all that kind of stuff. But on the back burner, well, it's not really back burner, but like back end of things, I'm currently starting to look into like private label to offer lipstick kits and skincare kits and like hair accessories on our website. So that way, if any of our marriers would like to have any of those beauty items or add on or something that they didn't think of, they have that. And it's kind of more exclusive because they found it through us. And I think it'd be really cool if like the lipstick that they chose, that they had an actual one to keep that
Yeah.
was special to their day, special to our time together. And, you know, maybe they wear it for date night. Maybe they wear it for, you know, their anniversary or whatever.
Yes.
I think that would be a really cool thing. And so it's just trying to grow and start focusing on other ways that I can be involved without actually going out and doing the weddings, because ultimately the end goal is to go back to 2 weddings a month for myself to uphold that promise to my husband.
I love that. I love that. That is so exciting. And that is so true. And that's something that we incorporate into our own business model. But we do it a little bit more laid back. You're going the fancy way, and I love that. We have like a little Amazon like affiliates of like hairpins, accessories, you know, cute little things that they can get, you know, as they're going through the process. I always tell people like be the resource for your clients so they don't have to go through Etsy and, you know, Sephora and Mac, when they can just get everything that they need right there from you because you are the professional. And that also 10 times the experience, like, oh my gosh, like Samantha's brand, like y'all need to go with her team. So I absolutely love that so much. That's going to be so fun. I cannot wait to see whenever you come out with that, because I might get me something off your website. I am like a lipstick junkie and like a lip gloss junkie. So
Yeah.
that's so fun. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
I'm
let's
excited for it. It's a lot of work. Here's the thing. Let me just be completely frank. So, you know, the beginning of the year, you and I started working together and our time went what felt like so quickly. And then I spent the rest of the year and busy season just building on what, like, nurturing what I've learned from our time and implementing those things. And then I started looking at like November, December, and I was like, oh my gosh, like we're slowing down. And
Mhm.
so then I went into this like panic of like, well, what do I do now? And I had to take a step back and realize like, okay, last November, December, I was, you know, just starting well, not just starting, no, because I had already been open. We're in 2021. Time.
It mushes together.
Oh my gosh. Yes. No. Last year, it was probably around the time where I was looking at like starting to find you and starting to realize that I needed to implement a better system and a better back end and all of that stuff. And so I realized like, well, I don't really sat down and like, what's my further goal? Like, what's next? And I literally had that thought. And then the next day I was like, cool, I'm gonna do lipsticks and hair pieces. And so like very quickly that became my 2022 goal. And like I'm trying to get it up and running before we get like busy. I saw a couple other things, like one of the girls, so everybody that's with me, you know, is a freelancer and they all have their own gig. And one of our girls is like an at-home esthetician, like she has a home studio. And we're gonna put some of her skincare packages in with some of our stuff and just really kind of focusing on like nurturing the people that I have and helping them. And yeah, so that's where I am. I literally had nothing, and then one day I was like, yep, that sounds good. Like that's what we're that's what we're doing. So it's a lot more
Absolutely.
work than I thought.
It's all good. It'll come
We're
together.
in too far now.
Yes, and I love that. And I think I remember you telling me about the esthetician and y'all were gonna like do some partnering. So that is so amazing how like, you know, somebody else's talent and like merging you both together, like you both can be like a powerhouse resource for your client. So
Oh
that
yeah.
that's amazing. I love that. I really
She
love
was
that.
my very first, if you remember, she was the girl who very first I was like, okay, I had already talked to her about like, you know, commission and stuff. And I was like, but now that I'm putting this structure in place and now I need her to sign a contract and get my artist agreements and all of that. And I was so nervous. And she has been just a like godsend, for lack of a better word. Like, she's been amazing. And so I'm like, how can I help you? Like, what can I do? Like, and it just
Yes.
makes sense. It just makes sense. Like, if people are coming to me or to us, my brand, for you know, they trust us with their wedding day, why wouldn't they trust us with pre-wedding stuff, you know? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Community over competition always. So
well,
absolutely.
that, and I'm a makeup artist. I am not an esthetician. Like, there is a big difference. Like, I get people all the time and they will ask me, what my skin's a little oily. Like, what about this? And I'm like, I can make it look not oily and like keep you looking good for the night, but like, I don't know, like,
You are hilarious, girl.
get a toner. Like, it's so ridiculous. But I think it's a big difference. And I definitely, and that's my biggest thing. And I definitely try and make that known throughout everything, is that I know what I know, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be something or know something that I don't. So that is very much where I am.
And that's the way to go. That's the way to go. So I have, I think 3 more questions, but they're super quick questions. So I think you kind of hit on this a little bit, but so throughout your time in the program, was there a favorite part of the program that you absolutely loved, or you were like, oh my gosh, this was like game changer? Like, was there a moment for you?
Um, Gosh, I want to say yes, but at this point, like, it's been such a blur of a year, like such a whirlwind.
It has
I
been
just,
crazy.
I think just getting organized and how to implement those things, like,
That is
because
a changer.
so much of my stuff is like, okay, it's up here. I know what I need to do. I know what I want to do, but then like the steps to actually take it from my brain and put it on paper and then like follow through with it and make it happen. I think that's where I definitely struggled a little bit. And so I think that was like one of the first or second things, was like writing down your business like model, and like, what do you stand for and what do you want to be known for, and like all those things. Like, I knew that, but I don't know how to ever put that on paper. So that was definitely very helpful. It just kind of cleared everything up and put me on a direct path. And going back to this whole, like, it was the end of the year and I didn't know what was going on. And I just sat down and I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Like, how can I take our experience and elevate it even more? And there you go. And so then I took that and now I have it on paper and now I'm implementing it. And so by far that as a whole.
Yeah. And that is a big game changer. I remember one day I got a Boxer from you. Boxer is just like a little like walkie-talkie app. And I remember, I don't even remember what day it was, but you were like, hey girl, I just wanted to pop in. I thought that I was going crazy. I thought that I was forgetting something, but I just didn't have anything to do because all of my work got done. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Remember that. And I was
Yes,
like,
because
so hard.
because for so long I wasn't writing things down and I wasn't being like, organized and responsible for my stuff, myself. And so I would sit there and I'm like, I feel like I'm doing something. Like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And it was nothing. And that, you know what, that too, like, making a set schedule, it's so easy as being self-employed to just not do anything. And so like making a schedule, and that's something that at the end of this year I had to start doing again too, because on top of all these changes, my son is 3.5 and he started preschool. And so he goes every day except for Wednesdays. And so I try and not do anything on Wednesdays. I try and keep it a free day so we can, have fun. But I've had to change my schedule to like, to fit that. And when we were first starting, I didn't have like, I just knew, okay, I wake up and I check emails. And you were like, okay, well, what about when do you work on your website? Like, what about this? Like, what about that? And it was more of like time management and making sure it didn't consume your whole day. I want to change my answer to this because this is definitely, I think, what was my favorite is that I still to this day on my Google Calendar have the schedule that I set for myself when we talked about this, and setting those boundaries. Because I didn't have that. I would just be like, okay, I have some free time and he's occupied. So like, let me do this. And then I was being so overwhelmed because I didn't know like what, you know what I mean? Like I knew I needed things that needed to be done, but I didn't know where to fit them in. Versus, I started setting aside, okay, Tuesdays I do, every day I do my email correspondence, but Tuesdays I do like website work. Wednesdays I write a blog. Thursdays I post the blog, and then just doing like quarterly, going back and checking up on everything quarterly and yearly and all of that. So now that busy season is over, I had to recondition myself to doing that. And so now on Tuesdays and Thursdays, my son goes to my mom's after school. So that way I have, because he goes to school in the afternoon. So he gets dropped off at like lunchtime, and then he's only there for like 3 hours. But by the time I get back home and get lunch and get settled, it's time for me to turn around and leave and go fight the pickup line. So I've set aside 2 days a week where my mom gets him from school. And so that way I can continue to focus those afternoons on the admin work that I need to get done. Because obviously during busy season, that stuff had to be set aside.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. And when you have like, okay, these are the things that I need to be focusing on quarterly. These are some of the things that I can put to the side for a little minute until I gain some time. And then when you do get back in the flow, it's not like, oh my gosh, where do I focus my time? It's like, no, this is what I need to focus on. These are the things that I need to get done in the next 90 days. So I love that. I love both of your answers. Both of your answers are good. I like both of your answers, yeah. But that is definitely something that a lot of people definitely struggle with, like, especially if they have little ones. A lot of the people that follow me, they have little ones and they're like, I just don't know what to do. So take that advice that she just said when it comes to, mapping out your days. And even if you have to take your little one to, pre-K, the neighbor's house, a parent's house, let your partner take them to the park, find that time to get things done. So I absolutely love that. So my last two questions are, so when it comes to the level of support in the program, of course, we had our live calls and we had Voxer. I don't think we did a lot of email communication. We're very talkative. So we were just like voice chatting all day. But what would you say the level of support was as you were working through anything throughout the program?
Oh, definitely. Very high level of support. I don't feel like there was ever a time where I had to wait. I feel like there were times where I would work on something at like 11 o'clock at night, and then I would have a question. So I would Voxer you or Instagram DM you, and I would have an answer by the morning because you're an early bird and I was not. And so it worked out. It worked out. I always felt bad because I'm like, I hope your phone is on silent at night because you're going to get all these buzzes because I am notorious for triple texting. But yeah, it was good. It was exactly what I expected for the package as a whole, and the price point and everything, that and all of that. I think it definitely was what was expected, and if not more.
Yes. Well, I am so glad. I am so glad that, yeah, like I'm definitely an early bird kind of person. I'm like, girl, you are fine. Like, you're okay. But yeah, you always had great questions. And whenever you had your questions, you were like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is already what I have done. Like, let me know your feedback. And it was never like, hey, what should I do here? Like, you always came with, a game plan that you already had. And I kind of gave you my feedback. And I always would say, as a suggestion, you can do whatever you want to do, but here's what I would suggest. And like, you were always so like open and open-minded to like any kind of feedback that I gave. So you're awesome. You're so awesome. So my last question for you is, so now that you have an amazing team of now 8 people, including you, and you're thinking about starting your own, private label for your clients so that they can have some goodies for their big day. What are your plans now moving forward in your business? I know you said you already have some 2022 goals, but what is the plan? I know you're trying to go back to 2 days that you promised your hubby, but aside from that, what's the game plan?
really just to just make ourselves more known and work on our cohesiveness as a unit. I definitely am focused on making sure all of my artists and stylists have the correct tools and everything, so that way that the work matches the system and the experience. And that we're continuously striving to be the wedding experts that we claim we are. Just always making sure that we're going forward bigger and better. I think my ultimate goal is to have enough people where if they want to be busy every weekend, that's great, but also them knowing that that's an option, and that if they want to, not have to be busy every weekend, they want to just do, because I mean, in Iowa, it basically is just weekends. And so if they only want to be busy 2 or 3 Saturdays a week, that's fine, or Saturdays a month, that's fine. It's not a big deal, and that there's other artists, and that it's okay. I don't want them to ever be like burnt out or overworked. I want them to continue to have the passion and the joy for the wedding artistry, and just seeing how special that is. So really just focusing on what I've started and nurturing it. But also, like I said, to continue to expand at the same time. Right now, we mainly are just in the Des Moines metro, and eventually I would like to have some people in some other areas, so I wouldn't have to charge a travel rate for us to go from, Des Moines to Cedar Rapids, or sometimes we get stuff for like the border of like Illinois. And if I could have people in those areas and kind of throughout Iowa, that would be great. Yeah, just really nurturing what I've started.
I love that. And one thing that I want to say before we close out here is, anytime when I work privately with a client, I always have an application process, because I want to know the personality, the drive, the purpose behind, who it is that's going to be working with me. And one thing that's really big, especially if somebody wants to start a team, is leadership. Leadership is so important. And you just making sure that your artists are taken care of, they're getting the proper education, and that your brand as a whole is cohesive, and it's not like a whole bunch of girls going out and doing some hair and makeup. And like, you really want it to be, cohesive to your brand experience. And that's one thing that clients will definitely appreciate. They will definitely pay a premium for, and artists would be excited to work on your team. So I absolutely love, one, that you are like a powerhouse in your leadership role. Your brand is doing amazing things, like you're doing a damn thing. And so many other things, like you are literally rocking it out. But aside from that, thank you so much for being here with me, so we can run our mouths and, catch up, chit chat, and all of the things. But before I hop off, do you have anything that you want to say to the people about, working with me, or any tips, or I don't know, any words of wisdom that you would like to say before we hop off?
I think definitely, first of all, just thank you for having me. Anytime I get to talk is a great time. Being, mainly being a stay-at-home mom, I'm in a house with a toddler talking about Paw Patrol, and he's really into Super Mario now, so like that's the whole thing. So my 3.5-year-old is already pretty fluent in playing Super Mario on the Wii, and that's like a proud accomplishment of mine. But anyways, no, just thank you for having me, but also thank you for giving me the confidence to grow and to do these things, because really I never had, like I said, I've done this for 13 years, and for the longest time, and that's just an estimate, I really have no clue. I've lost count, honestly, but I never, from the get-go, first of all, I never wanted to be a cosmetologist. My mom signed me up, and I, felt like I owed it to my parents, because they were paying cash for me to go to school, and I didn't want to be a spoiled brat. And so I was like, okay, whatever. my dog. And so I was like, I'm going to do this. And so then I did. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just work in a salon. It's fine, whatever. And then I didn't like it. And so then I started doing the weddings. And when I was doing weddings, I knew people used to tell me all the time, like, yeah, you should do this. You should open your own. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I've heard from the people that I worked with. I mean, when I worked for that salon that also did weddings, where I learned to do weddings and learned makeup, I was miserable and they were miserable, and the whole system and process, I mean, throw it in the garbage. Like, just a whole, no shade, but like, it's just not, no. And so it literally put a bad taste in my mouth, and I never wanted to. I had zero interest in being that person that was in charge of communicating and payments and dealing with the headaches that came with it. But really, what I realized now and through your program is just that it wasn't that was bad. It was bad. It was poor management. It was poor. They didn't have a system in place. They didn't have those things. And so that's where, the misery came from. But, when you do it and you do it the right way and you really care about it, it's completely different. And I would have never, I think, realized that or tried to reach as far as I have if it weren't for my time with you and just seeing how everything has unfolded based on taking, for me at the point in where I was, a risk. I mean, the investment that your course was pretty much the amount I had made thus far in my journey of being like, okay, I've already paid for my website, I've paid for my domain, I've paid for all of this, but like, it was still just myself, and I only had a few bookings at the time. And the funds really weren't there, but I knew that if I didn't make the investment, I wouldn't be where I am. And so if you're thinking about taking that risk, and this is long-winded, I'm sorry, but if you're thinking about taking that risk and you're not sure and you're on the fence, definitely try it. You know what I mean? Try it. Give it a good, do a consultation call, have the meeting, see how you feel, because my husband thought like I was crazy. He was, because, listen, let's be real. A lot of times you can feel business coaches can be kind of scammy. It's not,
Okay.
well, number one, it's one of those things where you only get out of it what you put into it. So if you're not putting in that effort and that implementing those things and being hard on yourself, you're not going to get those results that somebody else got, because somebody else was like 2 times more dedicated. So it was, at the time, it was a risk. And for me, it had a very high reward because it unfolded this whole operation that I never really kind of thought I was ever going to do.
I love that. I love that. And I did not pay her to say that. But it's so true. And it's like, when you align yourself with the proper people, like the vision of what you thought you wanted, it expands so much farther than what you actually thought that you wanted to build. You're like, wait a minute, now I want to do this, and now I want to implement that. So I absolutely love that so much. Thank you so much for being here. You are a treat. I'm so glad that my audience got to finally meet you, because I'm always talking about you in my stories. Like, it's killing it, y'all. But I'm so glad. I'm gonna go ahead and in this interview, but I will leave in the show notes if you want to follow Sammy over on her page, give her some love, give her some comments for the Instagram algorithm, all of the things. And you guys can connect with her there if you want to connect with her. Let me go ahead
Yeah.
and